Is anything happening in Bitcoin these days?
Nope. Smooth sailing, baby.
Just TikTok next block.
Like nothing's
It's
changed.
like the price is just floating along at 65. Nothing's going on. I can't tell
Yeah,
what's popping. Let
nothing.
oh,
Hey, good morning, Johnny.
Johnny's
What's
here.
Samson Mouse saying on with Newt? Canute. Apparently that K is not silent.
Canute. Yeah, in Scandinavia they pronounce it. So Samson Mao was on Canute, and he says Jeff Booth was on Pleb Underground. Um, I haven't seen it. And yeah, let's see here. BIP 110. Let me
Oh,
share
geez, we're
this.
gonna wade into that fucking thing.
It's the chain split show. Hold on one second. Where did I have it? Oh yeah. Da-da-da-da.
More like the fucking crash out show.
It could be crash out day. I know. We are at block 608. 961-608. And so we got a little ways to go, I guess. I was thinking it would months ago, I was thinking it might happen by early this morning, but it's not yet happened. Block 961632 is when it signals, or not signals, but activates, I guess.
So
And
how many blocks is that? Like
so we've got like 26 blocks.
so
20.
4 hours from now, roughly.
Yeah, I
Give
would
or
have thought
take.
it would happen by now, but we still
Well,
got a
let's
ways.
yeah, like how much I think what's going to be rightfully hilarious, if this thing actually does split off and do all its nonsense. Like if you're a spammer, like if you're a person who just loves stuffing JPEG monkey butts on the
A
blockchain,
troll.
you're just a straight up troll and you have the technical expertise. I think the first order of business for you is to just stuff every single block that they manage to signal with as much spam and porn and fucking disgusting shit as you possibly can,
Oh, good.
just to fucking throw a finger in their face. Like,
I
why
could see
wouldn't you
it.
do that?
I could see it for the
Which
lulls.
just for the lulls. I mean, like they've incentivized just by taking this big fucking diversionary public divisive stance. They've invited spammers to come and just test their fucking test their minerals, so to speak.
Oh, I can see it. I mean,
Situation
I
monitor.
hate all of it. I could see it. I mean, well, and okay, let's say split happens and someone somewhere, some people are putting some hash towards this. So I mean, as
So
far as
you
the
gotta
difficulty, there's all these things about the difficulty adjustment and when, how long it takes to validate blocks and all that. I don't know how and when that gets settled down because that could be a weird thing.
well check this out, dude. I could go and fork Bitcoin right now and spin up a fucking ghost chain too. Like that's not a meaningfully difficult thing to do. You could fork that code in 10 seconds and change some fucking symbols, and you could have a competing chain in 10 seconds flat. What exchanges have learned through the years, though, is like it doesn't behoove them to support a dust chain.
Yeah.
They just go, yeah, well, if you guys can actually muster some economic weight behind that, we might consider maybe listing it maybe sometime. But right now, no fucking way. So if you have something that has no DEX liquidity, no sex liquidity, and is just an ideological fucking vapor project, you go, oh, okay, so what becomes of that chain? I don't care how much fucking hash you throw at it. If no one wants to buy your fucking coin, it has zero fucking value, dude. Like that is just it seems as self-evident a statement as I can possibly imagine, and yet somehow that is lost in this discussion.
The game theory of it as it plays out,
It's
it's
not
sort
even
of like,
game theory. It's just fucking straight up economics, dude. Like, do you have a market for your coin? No. Does anybody even know it exists? No. Is anyone listing it? No. Is there any liquidity to trade with it? No. Okay, so what did you make? A fucking hobby. We just made some little fucking thing to go, yeah, this is real. Okay. And like what have you established? That you can fork code? Okay, cool. Yeah, so can any fucking kid sitting on Discord taking bong rips between fucking turns on Halo. Like, yeah, like that kid can figure out how to do what you did too. So what, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, how you healing,
Well,
Johnny? You healing up?
yeah, I just was asking. I was wondering about how Johnny's doing.
Well, you should go buy a BIP 110 coin, dude.
Well, I'm wondering if they'll. I wonder if they'll get to a block depth that gives that coin any market value. I don't
There
know if
is
they can.
block depth does not determine market value, dude. Liquidity determines market value.
Well,
Can you
let's say
trade it? Is there a tradable pair
right.
anywhere?
Well, there's a miners get the reward after like another 100 blocks or something. But yeah, I'm just wondering if the market would occur. If there
How?
would be, I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
have
the
no
whole
idea.
point. Is like
I have no
how?
idea.
If you can't answer that question for the same reason they can't, because there is no fucking path to that happening that's plausible or credible. Like if they launch BIP 110 coin under the conditions they've chosen to do it, it's a fucking it's a
Well,
non-starter. But people have been saying that for that the whole project is a non-starter. So
observed signaling hash rate 2.6%. So simulating this out, it could be that okay, we hit block 961632 and just nothing happens for a long time because Ocean
well,
and
no, but
whoever
look at
else.
that block. That's not the block after. That block happens after like how many 200 and some blocks are mined first?
Yeah.
200, like the standard chain is 244 ahead before they even mine one block.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
could take.
if you listen to the critics, if you take them as true and serious people and they go, yeah, all that hash is rented. So how long do you keep throwing money at rented hash when you got your chain is already 144 blocks behind before you even get one block, before you even have a chance to put your proof of work mechanism change thing? I mean, like just this little situation monitor is telling you right there, you're going to mine one block at your current signaling hash. And then there's this weird like thing that has somehow cropped up. I don't know how people are listening to this, but they go, well, miners don't have any incentive to signal before the change. I go, they have every fucking incentive in the world. Like you've got a project that was only available for serious software vetting in July. And so your expectation that these multi-billion-dollar corporations are going to just flip the switch at the last minute because some n percentage of fucking nodes are, like, no, dude, like that some unknowable percentage of nodes that have zero visible economic weight behind them are saying they want this to be the thing in the world. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? It's crazy.
Well, sometime tomorrow, I extended out the number of blocks it tracked, but they might get 5 to 7 blocks here sometime tomorrow. At which point, I'm curious where the narrative goes because I have seen. I don't want to. I hate to name any names. But I am seeing what I had mentioned like a couple of weeks ago, where I'm seeing the narrative start to shift, where Bitcoin, as we knew it, is now Fed coin, porn coin, sailor coin, compromised chain, and true Bitcoin, starts again. It rebuilds. It will rebuild, and true Bitcoin is the fork. And are people are who? I'm just curious of the people that of a lot of people I've known that were, say, initially pro nuts and then pro BIP 110 and then maybe wavering on 110, but like some committing and some kind of backing off and some just like, well, the spirit's there, but ultimately you wouldn't compromise your stack for what the value you see it in terms of having a market, I guess, is important. So I'm wondering how the narrative shifts sometime later today or tomorrow with people who literally fork off, I guess, and leave.
I you know, it's easy to type something on Twitter. It's really hard to separate yourself from a fucking hard-won stack. But, you know, I mean, people have done dumber shit, I guess. I don't know. But there's also been no shortage of people that have claimed their fork is the real Bitcoin. I mean, that's a fucking that's an ancient script in Bitcoin history. It's just like, oh yeah, we've seen all kinds of people go, this is what Satoshi really intended. Blah. I go, like, the thing that's running is what Satoshi intended. Period. Full stop. Like, and whether or not you agree with the direction it's going or any of this kind of stuff, it's like, well, then maybe Bitcoin's not right for you. I don't know what to tell you, but like that, it's like the old Rumsfeld quote, man. You go to war with the army you have, not the one you want. And Bitcoin is the chain we have, not necessarily the one we might want. But you know, saying it's like compromised or core devs are compromised, like all that rests on so many like just ad hoc arguments and selective framing. And, you know, I mean, like none of that would stand any sort of rhetorical scrutiny, but people just go, look, I read an article that said that it compromised and it makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, but that's not an evidentiary standard. That's just an opinion piece that's parading around that you have been persuaded by, but that doesn't make it worth anything to base a economic decision on at all. It's just hyperbole. So, I mean, like all this is really revealing to me is like the depth of unseriousness in a wide swath of people that identify as Bitcoiners. Like, just you kind of go, man, this is what we are talking about here is a somewhat complex thing that is existing inside an enormously complex thing that is Bitcoin as a technological achievement existing within a dominant paradigm of top-down authoritative control over fixed populations that the dominant authority extracts from using a technology they call money. And to say, well, this thing is now this transformative property and we're all going to like seize control and we're going to smash this entire 10,000-year-old apparatus and the logic that underpins 10,000 years of everything that we think about and take for granted today, rights and laws and legal process and institutions and all this kind of stuff. And the idea that you're just going to replace all that because of this really, really simplistic idea that Bitcoin is sound money. You go, I don't think you know what sound money means. I don't think people understand what money is doing. I don't think people understand the history of how all this unfolded. I don't think people understand where these institutions came from. I don't think they understand just how dependent they are on those institutions for their very existence. And so when you put all this together and you kind of look at it, you go, oh, when people are saying these things, they're just they're t-shirt slogans for most people, best I can tell. They're just like, yeah, t-shirt. My t-shirt says I'm gonna rage against the machine, you know, but there's no more depth to that than those kids that are posting TikTok videos about like how fucking woke they are because they recycled their bags this week. But meanwhile, they drove a fucking VW to the fucking store and they, you know, used an iPad to post the fucking thing and they bought a Apple laptop and they drove on paved roads and they live in a fucking air conditioned house, all of which was built by oil. And somehow they are able to disconnect themselves from the material reality they exist in so they can, you know, go around LARPing about how fucking environmentally conscious they are because they recycled their bags. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of that is sort of drifting into a lot of these Bitcoin narratives lately because what we're talking about is a very serious thing. It's not just some trivial fucking slogan. It's like to say, hey, be your own bank is a meaningful fucking thing. And it entails a deep, deep, deep history of like what you're fighting and why. And you can't just reduce it to like, because sound money. I mean, you have to think about this problem if you're really realistically going to tackle it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's a big, deep system and a problem. And it's hard to have been born into a fiat world, grow up in it, and then seek and discover your own set of good quality, progressive principles, maybe, and not be a hypocrite because your whole construct is built in you were allowed to be because of this fiat construct, and then you're like, wait, no, but it should be this way and that way and that way, so I'm going to be the change I want to see in the world. So you start to do that. How are you not a hypocrite unless you really go live off in a yurt off grid somehow and then make that really reconcile with like living? But anyway,
Yeah.
it's It's crazy. I so actually tomorrow I'm interviewing Bitcoin Cousin. He's
Oh,
on the
nice.
Bitcoin, he's live with the Hive with Stacy and all them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he recently wrote a book called The Belief Machine.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to read this. Fuck, I'm
It's
glad you reminded me
very
of that.
interesting. I'm only like a quarter of the way through it. I just started reading it, and I'd like to try to finish it today if I can. So when I talk with him, I'm fully informed.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting because it really gets into why we have the beliefs we have, how we form them, how it's very socially entangled. It
Mm.
gets into even things like free will and how we make decisions and how we rationalize our past and our sense of who we are and the way we think. And we have this sense in our minds that it gets into philosophical stuff, but um, we sort of imagine who we are and how we think as being kind of like clean and clear and rational and sensible, but it's so deeply affected by our social environment, the people we interact with, that we want to get along. These deep survival tactics we have where we're kind of like herd animals in a way, and you're navigating a social space, and there's the whole Overton window of how we fit into what's considered normal. And then as a Bitcoiner, a lot of us are kind of Sigma, willing to study more base principles, first principles, and sort out best we can what is good and true in the world. But then we're reconciling that as we experience in normie world, or hedging around functioning in our lives. And we will presume things about, oh, well, I'm based, I operate on first principles, or I'm rational, I make decisions carefully. But we're actually constantly kind of um, reframing our belief systems around a lot of stuff, which is even subconscious. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
really
dude,
interesting.
I mean, I really want to read this book for all those reasons that you pointed out. And I mean, it's a fascinating topic to me, and I'm
I
glad you
think you'd
enjoyed
really
it.
like it.
I'm glad you enjoy this kind of stuff, Johnny, because I do as well. And what I would say is, like, here's a really easy test that you can apply to any human being that you come across. You go, how did you do in high school? And I think for the vast majority of Bitcoiners and everybody else, they probably did fine. C student, B student, A student, whatever. Most of those people probably graduated high school. And if that's true, then I say your epistemic posture is already deeply, deeply compromised, because public education in the United States of America, and there's a lot of research that, traces this all the way back to the Austrian school of, like, was it Austrian? I believe is Austrian. Like, their sort of rigid top-down hierarchical thing, where the entire purpose of the exercise is to command obedience, right? You need to obey authority. And everything from, like, you need to move and, time your bodily functions to a bell, and you need to, like, defer to authority, defer to information, where the source of information comes from. So it has a dual track purpose. One, it gives you numeracy and literacy, right? Like, you can do math and you can read. So those are like huge benefits to the state, but they constrain you in a way that makes you obedient to authority. So if you come out of a system that makes you obedient to authority, as in you can do all the boxes, you can check all the things, and you can obey in line with everybody else in your cohort, then you're a good citizen, right? But that is fundamentally at odds with first principles thinking. So what most people are mistaking for first principles thinking, or based reasoning, or looking deeper and all that kind of stuff, is merely a quest to seek a different authority. They're not actually thinking their way through a problem. They're looking for someone else to give them an authority that they can defer to, because they are trained to be obedient to authority. So if you look at the great thinkers of history, they were not obedient people. They were disobedient people by definition. They were people that did not fit in with the system. They were people that were constantly challenging the system. There were people that were constantly running into the frictions of the system. And
Right.
that's the only way you can develop independent thinking, true independent thinking, is either you are classically trained in rhetoric and logic, which almost no one is in the public education system, or you are born from fire, where you are actively challenging that system. And so if you come from a place of obedience, the likelihood of you transcending your obedience training is almost zero, right? Which is why most people will never, ever get to a place where they have an original thought that challenges anything. That's why it's a rare fucking thing, because the natural tendency in human tribal settings is to be obedient to the group, to follow the group, to not stand out from the group, to be accepted by the group. What public education does is magnifies that 10,000 times, and it channels it towards state obedience rather than tribal obedience, right?
Right.
And once you have state obedience, then you can reintroduce tribal obedience to wield power. But at core is obedience, is deference to authority, is deference to authoritative figures, a deference to authoritative sources of information. So when someone says, I'm thinking outside the box, they're not really thinking outside the box. They're holding all their priors, they're holding all their obedience training, and then they're seeking a new source of authority that they can be obedient to. So that's how you get people to go from like, yeah, fiat, I don't know, this kind of, oh, I read Safadine. Oh, I read the Bitcoin Standard. Now I have a new source of authority. Okay, I'll follow this source of authority. But they haven't actually functionally changed their thinking. They've just transferred where they've centered authority.
Right.
But someone that can come along and go, hey, the Bitcoin Standard is actually kind of a retarded book. That's a completely different posture. And if you said that on Bitcoin Twitter right now, you would get fucking smoked, dude. People would just be like endlessly fucking trashing you because you dared question their new source of authority. You get what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and so thinking of
thanks, Johnny.
I know it's amazing to read that, Johnny. I appreciate it, because in my own belief system and in my own mind, we just are amazingly pontificating upon this amazing stuff all the time. BIP 110, I'll just bring that up again. So we have certain new authorities in that realm where, in a way, they're the rebels. They're the Sigma guys that were like, we see a new authority, fuck that. We're gonna keep this pure. We're gonna break away from that. And so how do human movements occur? Like you've said before, like at some point, communist stuff doesn't just work egalitarian. There are leaders, a leader somewhere. There has to be a leader, right? Someone who brings coherent kind of the amalgamation of all the things and says, okay, here's a platform. And people are kind of, maybe they're part of a movement, and then they see that platform and say, okay, yeah, here's our platform. And now you have a new hook to hang your hat on, basically. And yeah, we've seen it with COVID. We've seen it with everything. We see it with Cold Card, authoritative figures all over being like, oh yeah, no, it's solid. It's the best. It's based. It does all these things. You're, da 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 da. And so, I mean, naturally, so many people. You're not the whole don't trust, validate, verify thing. Yeah. What does that mean?
All praise Safadine.
What does that mean?
All praise Safadine.
What are you verifying? And you? Can you?
You can. I mean, 100%. Well, the thing is, you can verify like fault, right? You can go, well, this kind of falls apart here, right? But note what you're talking about, right? It starts from obedience. And that was the point I was making before. The vast majority of people in the Western world are trained to be obedient to authority. So when they start drifting but the politics of authority is where that changes. Because right now, what you had were people that were obedient to fiat authority. They read something that got them to go, wait a minute, maybe this authority isn't as valid as I thought it was. Let me go find a new source of authority. So they found Bitcoin. They go, oh, the people in this space are my new authority. So I can now challenge my old authority, but I can be obedient to the new authority, right? And so now when you have the politics introduced to that, you go, okay, who's an authority in Bitcoin? Jameson Lopp and Adam Back and this and that and the other thing. How are you going to challenge their authority? Well, you have to be different. You have to come at it from a different angle. So all that's happened right now with the BIP 110 thing and op return and all that debate is you've seen a political play unfold right before your eyes. They go, don't trust that authority, trust my authority. And some segment of the population went, okay, I used to go Adam Back, now I go mechanic, and and that's it. They've shifted where they've centered their authority, but they're still obedient to that authority, because if you go and challenge anybody about that, they will immediately attack you, because you're you're attacking their tribal identity that they've now, because they've already transplanted their obedience to a new source of authority. So once you're obedient to a new source of authority, getting them to break away from that authority is nearly impossible, because once you've accepted a new authority, that's the authority. That's the authority in your life. That's the authority in your epistemic posture. That's the authority in your reasoning and logic. So you're always going to defer to that authority until something fundamentally disrupts that for you, where you go, oh, okay, now I can break free from this authority. But then their problem that they're going to be continually rooted in for the rest of their fucking existence is they're going to be always seeking some new authority, or they decline into despair. Because absent authority, they literally can't go, oh, I'm thinking for myself. Oh, they don't even know what that means or what it looks like, because it challenges things that they've been deeply ingrained with since they were born. I defer to my parents. My parents sent me to this institution. Now I defer to this institution and my parents. This institution trained me to defer to this big institution. So now I defer to the big institution, the small institution, and my parents. So you're always obedient to every step of the institutional ladder. The only people that can disrupt that are typically people that are like severely traumatized by institutions from the time they're born until the time they're an adult, because they go, oh, I don't trust that institution. I don't trust this institution. I don't trust this institution. I can't rely on anybody's authority. I need to find my own authority in the world. I need to become my own authority. And then if you are a conscientious person, you start pursuing that, you realize like, oh, it's really difficult to become an authority on anything, because the information is so deeply tangled and it's so deeply intertwined, to come up with a coherent thought that you go, okay, I think I have a map of how things work. The best you can arrive at is a rough sketch and kind of go, I think this is closer to the material reality that we exist in versus what the institutional narratives tell me I should be obedient to. But how you arrive at that state as a human being is you can just tell by the number of people that actually achieve that state. It's so remote. It's so difficult to get there. Einstein was a misfit. What's his face? Who's the fucking physicist?
Feynman?
Yeah, Richard Feynman.
Richard Feynman?
Yeah. Deeply awkward, weird outsider fucking status, right?
I'm just reading your mind here. Yeah, Feynman was a real outside the box.
But to think outside the box, you can't have been born and raised in the box. You have to have been outside the box the whole time. And even then, it's very, very likely that you're going to end up down a really stupid fucking shitty path, because it's so easy to assemble information to a coherent story that allows you to survive. It's a very difficult thing to challenge yourself and unpack that even further and keep going, because it results in a state where you never have epistemic certainty. You're always uncertain, and people hate being uncertain. So living in that world is deeply uncomfortable, especially if you grew up in a world that was predicated on authoritative stability, authoritative certainty. You could always rely on the authority to resolve your tensions when you were confronted with them. But if you've never had that authority to rely on, you end up in that place where it's like, fuck, well, I got to figure this out for myself. And that's deeply uncomfortable and deeply unsettling. So most people want to get away from that as quickly as possible. My personal opinion is the only people that can withstand that are people who've never had it to begin with, which is why it's so rare to find people that can actually think their way through a problem legitimately without relying on authoritative sources, institutions, institutional narratives, public narratives, social narratives, family narratives. They all rely on narratives because they can't make sense of the world otherwise.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is it, like, I thinking of the physicists. Now I think Einstein had his own like touch of the tism in a way, so did it himself. But Feynman, Carl Sagan, some of these others, in the era in which they were, living, they were dabbling in hallucinogenics. They were having walls torn down in their minds of like, okay, they went to school, they got good grades, they were academically smart in the establishment system, and then they also found or came across ways where there certain walls were torn down, and they were just like, my mind is open. And a mechanic himself has mentioned this before in his own world. So sometimes I think this sigma level thinking of tear down walls, think open, think clearly. There's that. And then when I zoom out a level, I think, okay, instead of like judging in a moment's argument or process of these kinds of changes, instead of judging like which path is right or wrong, maybe it's this process occurring that is what's important. Like you could say, well, I'm against this for that reason, or they're nuts for that reason, or well, oh, that happened to work out for this other reason, or maybe it was luck, maybe it was game theory, maybe it's just the math. But the process is what's important. At least we're churning on it, and right or wrong, oh, that was cringe, that was all stupid, but we all learn from it over time, and then perhaps science makes progress with every funeral. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like I don't see any evidence of that manifesting in the world. I see people get challenged epistemically constantly, and all then their first recourse is to seek new sources of information. Conspiracy thinking is the clearest incantation of that. They go, well, I can't understand all these disparate things, so I will assign a mystical authority that I can never pin down. And that's far more comforting because they go, well, I never have to resolve this tension because there's always something that I can point to that goes, this is beyond my ken. But I know it's because of the secret cabal, the lizard people, the fucking space aliens, the institutional fucking deep state, the whatever it is. They always have something to point to that can never be, disproven in the thinker's mind. But I would point out, like, when you're talking about physicists, hard scientists, people that come to these epiphanies later on, think about what was required of that epistemic change in posture, because they weren't just like dabbling in shit and reading an article once in a while and, and browsing a book and then maybe watching a YouTube video. These were people that devoted enormous amounts of intellectual horsepower to understanding deeply complex problems at a level where they went, oh, there is no epistemic certainty at the bottom of this. Holy shit. Like, I thought I had a pretty good model of the world. When I was in high school, I felt pretty confident in, all the institutions I was in. And then I went through university and I kind of breezed through that. But that introduced some challenges. And then I did my master's and I went, whoa, wait a minute. This is really, really more complex than I thought. And then they got to the PhD work and then they drilled down on one particular topic to a point where it was publishable and worth other people talking about. You think about how much effort that takes and how much raw intelligence that takes. And then you go, okay, wow. At the other end of this guy started popping mushrooms and going like, oh fuck, dude, there's a whole fucking world out here. I gotta explore deeper because everything I thought up to this point is wrong. And I have no way to resolve that tension in me because I relied on all these. So now I'm a unique thinker. And I go, well, if you're not the person that drills down to some topic on that level, and in a thing where institutional guardrails don't support you, because like if you try and do this in the social sciences, there's always some institutional thing that will buttress your fucking point of view, right? If you go deep down into the PhD level of critical race theory, you're going to find all kinds of support for that because they've already established an institutional presence. Physics doesn't have that. You don't get to just go, well, physics, because this group just has produced a bunch of literature, therefore it's definitive, therefore I can rest my epistemic posture on this literature. You go, that doesn't exist in physics because it's testable. It's deeply testable. You can't test critical race theory in any meaningful sense. You can make coherent arguments around it. You can make things that sound plausible, but most of it's wrapped in fucking gibberish that most people can't understand. So the PhD those people get is typically in like rhetorical flourish, not deep thinking, right? So if you're the average pleb who's like trying to watch an episode of 60 Minutes and then you're going to go watch an interview with Saifedean and then you're going to go read a magazine article and then you're going to go, look at a chart and then you're going to go scroll Bitcoin Twitter, I go, the chances of you coming to a place where you have some sort of epistemic grounding in deep actual first principles thinking, I think is effectively zero. Like there's just no way to fucking get there doing it that way. Like either you devote yourself to really unpacking the world, which is an enormously complex, enormously tasking intellectual exercise, or you just kind of go, well, I'm just going to keep following authority. And I think for the overwhelming majority, they just follow authority. They will continually seek new sources of authority, but they'll never be able to become an authority themselves. They might be able to LARP at it. They might be able to, act like they're doing that. Like that's what I'd say some of the BIP 110 people are doing. They're kind of LARPing towards like, hey, I'm an authority on this thing, but that's a political posture. That's a political move. That's a political thing where you can separate a group of obedient people to follow your paradigm instead of someone else's. But that benefits the person who's leading. It doesn't benefit the people who follow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and people crave some semblance of leadership. Like you've got a life of your own to live. You get into something like Bitcoin, and so you seek out signal. You seek out people who know. People know better, more than you do, and then it's just natural human nature to elevate people. Someone's smart, so you want to listen to more of that. Good.
Well, I don't even know if it's
And
natural human nature, dude.
yeah, so we so then the voices in the space can readily become, you know, an authority. And then it's super hard to, you know, you will be elevated yourself if you're really smart and you talk well and then you have good ideas and people elevate you. And let's just say you're the best person you could be as a human and you say, no, like the Buddha, like seriously, don't worship me. Find the truth for yourself. And yet to this day, a lot of Buddhists or calling Buddhism a religion, which it's not, but people worship the Buddha or have shrines about the Buddha. It's like, no, no, no. All of those trappings are the problem.
Right.
Seek to be the Buddha yourself. Slay the Buddha on the road.
Right.
I've had a lot of, I was thinking about a number of things this past week with everything going on, but people that orange pilled me legitimately, I learned from, I studied, listened to for years, and now I'm slaying them. Now that sounds like a big dire thing. It's not like black and white. It's more like, oh, I kind of thought of them in this way, and now I have them in this box over here now, but I'm kind of slaying them, slaying these authorities where as a person looking at their path, I respect them and I don't look at them the same anymore. Right. They went from kind of being like an authority in my head to, they're humans as well. Or they fucked up. and I'm constantly doing that. I do that to myself, like, check myself. Secondly, a thought I have is all these thoughts we have that we talk about in, I call it normie world, but I was telling you about a meeting I had to go to earlier this week. And I have all these, like, so, okay, I have this meeting where like the state puts pressure down on local control authorities to reduce numbers on something. We want less people in prison. Okay. So there's ways to do that. I mean, there's blunt ways you can just do that
the door.
with, you know, there's no solution. There's just trade-offs. And there's other ways you can try to do that, but I mean, looking at it, so what I do is I'll look at it as a system and what's going on. And for me, that gets into things about things we've talked about before, praxeology and human action and incentives, and then the money and the system and all this stuff, socioeconomic, demographic stuff. But the goal of this grant is reduce the number of people going to prison. So you're like, okay, and we have what, a year to do this?
Come on, Johnny.
And me too, Johnny. Thank you.
Me 3.
So I'm at this meeting and I'm being a little surly. One, because I'm less threatened by my own sense of job security, and my people look at me as an authority now in this circle. Like, oh, who's going to do this? Fritz? I'm like, okay. Or who's really good at this? Who knows this stuff? And everybody's sitting around and it's like, Fritz? It's like, yeah, I guess. And so if I'm going to be this authority in this meeting, I'll tell you what, I have opinions. So I start not belaboring it, but I started to get into things about, okay, let me just distill the mission they're asking us to do here. And I highlight reduce the number of people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so look at the money they're giving us to do that and how we're supposed to supposedly do that within certain constraints. And we're already doing this, and we're supposed to, like, with less money, actually do more. And what we're grappling with here are things like deep human condition situations we find ourselves in, involving also praxeology, and sort of a tide, a force of nature tide of the humanity churning. And oh, hey, here's a $500,000. So within a year or two, can you like reduce this number? And it's like, what do you? I don't want to say like this is a joke. I shouldn't.
Joke. Yeah.
Nobody I work with watches this. So anyway, I kind of vent a little bit about the juxtaposition dichotomy between the mission and what we're really able to do and supposed to do in a time frame and measure it. And I don't know. So there's that. And then so I'll have these thoughts in my mind and I say them out loud. And people kind of look at me like they get it, but that's not their wheelhouse. That's not how we do our jobs.
Right.
Or think about these things. I go back to work and I'm describing things about the nature of how we do our work and the tide we face. Like, we're here to build this sandcastle and the tide is coming in, but we're going to protect our sandcastle. And it's silly, but I'd start talking about things like human action and praxeology and the tide and socioeconomic demographic stuff. And I just find people not curious or interested, or they do not think about it that way. It's just, well, what's paying you to do what? And it's clocking in, clocking out, doing numbers, seeing people, and just doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I zoom out and look at that and I don't want to say that we're not doing good work and that we don't make differences. We were also talking about how many lives we've actually changed and probably kept people from getting killed. And the mission overarching all of it is kind of a LARP.
It's all LARPing.
It's a LARP.
But that's the political reality of institutional logic, right? So the thing is that it's just if you want to strip all the artifice to the bottom of this kind of thing, is like, if you want to be a truly independent thinker and you truly want to rise up as some sort of authoritative thinker, you have to be comfortable with being wrong. In fact, you need to embrace it. And it's been my experience that people simply can't tolerate being wrong. Like there's some sort of like deeply embedded training that says, no matter what I think or do, I have to be right. And if I'm wrong, that says something negative about me as a human being. I will get mocked or ridiculed or something like that. So the safest course is always to obey authority, because you can't be wrong if you're obeying, right? I obeyed what you said. I did what they told me to do, blah, 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 blah. So you always have an excuse for why you were wrong about something. And you never have to face the uncomfortable reality that what you thought was wrong or what you were doing was wrong. And that's how people can commit genocides, and that's how people can continue bureaucratic nonsense like you're dealing with. And that's how people can keep all this going, because they just defer to authority. They're obedient to authority. And that's how they stay epistemically safe. That's how they stay ontologically safe. That's how they preserve their identity. So if you can't admit that you're wrong, like if your wife or your brother or somebody comes in and goes, hey, you've screwed this up, and you go, I didn't screw it up, it's because of all the reasons, and like all you can do is become defensive, you go, well, then you'll never be capable of original thought, because original thought by definition is original, it's unique. So you have to be able to withstand scrutiny. And not only do you have to be able to withstand scrutiny, but your original thought has to be able to carry through that scrutiny. And if it doesn't, then you need to adjust, and you need to think again, and you need to think deeper, and you need to look harder. And all that is taxing. And it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of enormous input from the person to withstand that scrutiny. And if you can get to a place where your original thought can actually withstand scrutiny, then maybe, just maybe, if you're really good about talking about it, you can become an authority about that little tranche of knowledge that you managed to surface as an original thinker, quote unquote. But you can never get there by being beholden to the system that's producing flat knowledge and producing authoritative knowledge. So like when you come into that room and you realize what we're against here, right? Like, and you ask people to actually think, what you're doing is you're challenging deeply held beliefs that are rooted in abeyance to authority, and you're threatening them all with being wrong for doing so. So it's like you're just like, you may as well be telling them you're all a bunch of fucking retards. Everything you think is fucking stupid. Everything you've built your entire life and identity and entire being on is fucking dumb. It's got holes all the way down. It's a miracle this thing even stays afloat. Let's try and fix it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
people just can't tolerate that level of thought. And that's just one tiny little bureaucratic process in an entire machine of bureaucratic processes. So, you know, people sort of reify this idea of like original thought, but they don't really contemplate what it takes to be an original thinker. And so they mistake like authority substitution for original thought. They're just, you know, they're just kind of skipping around. And either that terminates in conspiracy thinking, or it terminates in despair, or it terminates in some level of authority that you feel comfortable hanging your hat on until you die. But it's, you know, it's a unpacking humanity is a difficult and humbling and humiliating experience, right? And it has to be. So I don't know, dude. Like, in that institutional reality you exist in, and I've existed in it too. You're either fighting it or you just go, yep. Oh yeah, sure. We'll work on it. Yeah. And then a year from now they go, we managed to reduce by 1% in this thing, but this thing increased and we did this. And so we got another plan. Like, we think that if we do XYZ thing, this will affect this thing. And here's some math and some numbers that you're never going to check. And here's some fucking graphs that you're never going to unpack what they mean. And here's some bar charts, and see, look how smart I am. And they go, okay, good. You're playing the game exactly the way I want to see it played. Thank you very much,
Right.
Fritz. You're great. How about you become director of the fucking state apparatus? Okay. And that's it. And that's the whole world, right? Like, they don't want original thinking. They don't want someone that's coming in and challenging the institutional narrative. They want someone that supports the narrative and lets them continue existing with their identity markers, right? The things that they go, well, I did, you know, like even the thing you said, we did good work. You go, yeah, but that's reinforcing your institutional narrative, because if you really look at what this entire system produces, it's nothing but despair and destruction and decay and rot and waste, and there's nothing good about it, because you saved a couple of people along the way, right? Like, the amount of harm that is being caused by that entire system writ large, the entire prison system, the entire criminal justice system is enormous, and it's massively impactful. And so, you know, but that very statement is in support of the institutional narrative. That's the thing that keeps you alive and lets you keep prodding. If you really got a boner for making change, like, all that means is you're going to fight all the way and you're probably going to lose. And so if you want to take that on, go for it. If not, then just bury your fucking ego and just go, well, yep, here's my 5-point plan, and here's a bunch of graphs, and here's a bunch of math you don't understand and we'll never check. And even if someone does check it, you go, oh yeah, well, you know, my assistant did blah, 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 but this math actually holds up if you look at this thing, and blah, 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 blah. Here's some more math and here's some more figures. And they go, oh, math and figures. I like math and figures because that sounds like something I can, you know, rely on. But it doesn't, you know, like, it doesn't change the institutional reality of what's happening. What's happening is you've got an entire institutional apparatus that's wrapped around 12th century thinking about crime and punishment, and it's just buried in layers of bureaucracy and bullshit, but it's still just 12th century logic underneath it all. You good, you bad, you get punished, you don't get punished. That's it, right? And I mean, if you strip it to that, it's just like, oh god, man. Hey, what's up, Bring Back?
Yeah, Ahmad's here. Makes me think of this funny. Oh man, it's been years ago, but Mac Bring Facts is going to Max and Stacy, the golf tournament. Would love to go.
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
Very expensive, poor marketing attempt on our part. I mean,
for
fun.
The business. Yeah, as an experience goes, awesome, amazing. Fascinating.
Financial calculation, fucking terrible.
Takes a little fiat for us, but oh my gosh, we'll have to sit on that one and see where things sit here in December, January.
Yeah,
but that's awesome that you're going, man. That's awesome. That's where I met him. I'd seen Bring Facts online quite a bit, and then we're in El Salvador at the golf club, and here's a guy that stands out clearly as someone who's interesting that I want to talk to, and I get to talking to him. And it's like, oh, it's funny when you make those connections. Oh, you're that bring facts. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, well, Johnny said, that that's actually a pretty unique position to occupy, Johnny. Like, if you can get to a place where you're just like, huh, maybe everything I think isn't quite right, like that's actually a tough spot because it invokes a lot of uncertainty and it invokes a lot of instability in epistemic posture, right? And if you can navigate the emotional toll of that, then you end up in a place where you kind of start seeing the world differently, right? And a lot of it becomes a lot less alarming and a lot of it becomes a lot less emotionally fraught. But it's also, you never get that sense of like, oh, okay, well, I feel like I've got a handle on things. And, I mean, like, I think everybody drifts in between modes, right? Like I can still scroll Twitter and I'll see some, ICE protester or something like these fucking goddamn liberal blue hair blah, and I can get all pissy about it. But but there's also that moment where it's like, okay, well, if you really unpack this, and I mean, so you end up in that little sort of mush ground, like people, like the BIP 110 people call it fence sitting. I go, well, no, it's just thinking through a problem. But like,
Yeah.
but
I'm still
it
thinking
gets you
through
out
a
of the
problem.
tribal mode pretty quick.
Yeah. If you're for it, rah. If you're against it, rah. If you're thinking
Right.
about it, rah, fence sitter.
How dare you? How dare you?
Take what side are you on? So oh yeah. So one of my thinking about my fiat work and what you were saying about all that. Oh, it makes me think of this story that I think it the book Catch 22 or something in the military. I had a guy that I worked with years ago who a military vet, and he had these funny little, like, basically having navigated and survived military bureaucratic, you know, positions and staying employed and being there's so much hierarchy to existing in some of those circles.
Ugh.
Like if you got time to lean, you got time to clean, or whatever.
Move rocks.
But so there talk about LARPing and a lot of these jobs or positions where we have this whole systemic bureaucracy that just does stuff. And what it could do is amazing, and what it does day to day is maybe complete fucking bullshit. But like survival tactic he had where it's like here he said here's a trick, when you're kind of like finding your way or figuring out like where do you fit in, what's your role, how important are you, and it's like not important. um, Carry a clipboard, have a calculator, have extra pens at your disposal, glasses help, and or a notepad. And like when you walk around, people see that you are taking notes or you have a list of things. And when there's something that may at all be a semblance of something meaningful or useful, or something's going on, you're writing stuff down. All of this is a posture that, like, one, you're paying attention, that you care, and maybe you're somebody of importance, or that could be. Well, here's a guy who's like doing stuff. You're on the ball, so to speak, even as it's just, LARPing. But he's like, no, seriously, these are things that you do.
Mhm.
There would be times where, people would be telling me stuff, whatever, and it's stuff I could remember. It's stuff that doesn't go anywhere, or there's nothing to do about whatever. But taking notes, you're taking notes, and because you never know, you never know. So, but anyway, but the procedural justice about that and the experience you're creating. Um, in my job, when I think about, oh yeah, so there's certain meetings at the state or um, legislative level things, and I just stopped going. I'm just like, I've seen this movie before. Session after session, they'll have all these meetings. They want to get to the bottom of things. Who's going to actually do stuff?
Nobody.
Crickets. Do we have the money? No.
Crickets. Yeah.
Well, so when's the next meeting? And let's keep talking about it. And so here we are with our clipboards taking notes. Yeah, we're thinking, and we smart people are going to create more bureaucracy to talk about it and do what exactly. So I stopped going to these meetings. I was just like, I get the notifications. I read the agenda. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I stopped going.
Yeah.
And I had a peer of sorts approach me and be like, hey, you never go to these meetings anymore. And I'm like, no. In my
Waste of
past
time.
life, I used to be like, oh, explanatory reasons, and I'm busy, and that's another excuse is, oh, so busy. How you doing? Oh, so busy.
Yeah.
But I was just more honest, like, what's the point? Honestly, you read the agendas, you go, you sit there and you hear the same old. What's the budget? And or some things that you could do, but you legally can't or whatever. So I just stopped going.
Yeah.
And I was honest about it. And sort of like with like voting, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're gonna vote harder? I'm like, no,
No.
like voting, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you crazy?
It's such a by flipping that switch, it's so freeing. It's like a almost weirdly like a weight cast off to be like, I'm free from that puppet show,
Yeah.
the kabuki theater of it all.
Right.
I'm free of it. And so
Yeah.
now I can think about stuff. And if I tell others about it and they're like, ooh, or they're like, huh, because they know it's right. But it's kind of this existential
Well, they
threat.
don't know it. That's the one thing I would say is that they don't know it's right. They're looking at you like it's like basically you just took off your clothes and are just standing there naked going, yeah, clothes don't matter, right? Like it's true. And assuming that they understand that because they can look and see the same things you're seeing, but they don't, right? Like they are literally going like, oh, you're turning into a wackadoodle. Okay, cool. So I need to distance myself from you because you don't follow the institutional narrative anymore. I mean, those things are like those meetings aren't about like solving anything. They're just about everybody getting in the room together and stroking each other about like how busy they are and what they're doing and this and that and the other thing. But it's just keeping the whole illusion afloat, right? That's the purpose of those big, long, drawn out meetings. I'll never forget one of those big like conferences down in Southern Oregon, and they were talking about updating the payroll system or something. Maybe it wasn't even payroll. I mean, it was some big database
Records
system.
management system or
Yeah, it
something.
was a records management system, right? And they had been tinkering with this thing at that point for 3 years. And they had pushed their timeline for release back like year after year after year. And it was just like when you sat there, they literally got down to a point where they were putting out little colored pieces of paper on the table and saying, hey, vote on which of these things you think is better. I'm like, what?
Oh God, I hate
Like
that
I could
shit.
literally go on Fiverr and get someone to fix this thing within 30 to 60 days and have a functional prototype running. They could bug check it, they could vet it, and then they could launch it 2 months after that.
And with AI and stuff now,
And with AI and stuff now, yeah, it's like, okay, so you guys have basically squandered 5 years of taxpayer money on these big, huge conferences and hiring this fucking talent to come out and get the crowd jazzed up and paying for all this food and doing all these awards and all this fucking shit. And it's just like, you guys are building a website to manage payroll or to manage records. Like, and you've been relying on a system that you've been using since 1998. And it's probably
Yeah.
so full of security holes and God knows what that like you're lucky that this thing hasn't been exploited already. And yet the LARP continues and they just keep showing up and doop doop doop. So, like either you're playing the institutional game or you are an outsider to the institutional game. And once you get outside, it's hard to it's hard to see it for anything but what it is. And B, if you go and present that as a challenge to the people in it, it's just like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't, unless you've got some sort of other source of power, it's just an isolating thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I've had so many experiences of something I went to where it's like, oh, I'm here to learn something specific that in hindsight could have been an email or something to read, and I'm autodidactic. Like just is someone working on this? Is there an expert in the room? If so, tell me. Is there something to do? If so, let's do it. Instead, it turns into this adult learning. What should I say? Yeah. Break into your groups and talk about it, and then get out your sticky notes and write down the top 3 words that vibe with you, and then put them here, and then put them into quadrants where you think it might fit here, and then let's all vibe about it. And then we're going to listen to these groups talk to each other about all the non-expert stuff, and then just feel that.
Yeah.
And then the facilitator, if they're good at it, coheres that into something. But I'm like, aren't we here to, like, I don't know, in my mind it's like, can we go out and do things, or are we basically, the process is the outcome.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a process oriented thinking.
The goal is the process.
The goal is the
And,
process.
and the goal of that process is more process.
Correct.
So it's like,
yeah, you finally unpacked all bureaucracy, all government. The distinction I would make with the military is like they are deeply process oriented to a point, but all of their processes are oriented around outcomes that they need and have been stress tested in combat, right? So, like all that, like you got time to lean, you got time to paint rocks, or you got time
right.
to, but all of it is
Busy.
well, it's structured around a very coherent outcome objective, right? And the way they separate out types of operators and types of soldiers and types of, like they're really, really good at filtering and putting people in the right spots and putting people in effective positions. Doesn't mean it's seamless. Like there's always that one general that's just like a baboon and, kind of bureaucracy to his way to the top and can't fucking see, punch his way out of a wet paper bag kind of thing. But underneath that, all around him are people that are highly competent. I mean, if you want to see people that are really, 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 really expert at outside the box thinking and thinking from first principles, you go look at the people that are gaming out threat scenarios for the military, right? Like those people are not bound by institutional logic. They're bound by like very, very different calculations. And they're fucking amazing thinkers, dude. Like just, people talk about AI and this and that and the other thing. But years ago, I was looking at a lot of the leading research from military circles about, human in the loop fire commands and things like that, and what they're gaming out and how they think through that problem. And it's like, wait, like the modern AI research isn't even close to what these people were thinking about before AI even showed up on the scene. So, like they've got a very different reward path. Like there is no part of like government bureaucracy that achieves any of that sort of outcome, but the military bureaucracy is expert at it. I mean, they have an IQ cutoff in the military. Like there's no other branch of government anywhere that has a specific IQ threshold. And that's because the military has spent the last 100 years like gaming that out, going like, what is the bare minimum we can get by with and make sure this guy is not a hazard or a liability? They go around 72 or 78 or something like that. They go below that, we just can't use them. And we've tried everything we can possibly throw at these baboons and they just can't do it. So that's our cutoff. But if you fall in that 78 to 85 range, they got all kinds of shit you can do, and they don't mind throwing you out on the field and just go that way. Yeah, shoot if anyone's shooting at you. Good luck. Like cannon fodder is kind of a joke, but they'll use them for that because they know they need those bodies. So it kind of varies on the institutional outcomes. Like prison service has 0 institutional outcomes that are measurable and politically palatable, right? So that is like you are forever and ever going to be buried in bureaucratic nonsense, and it's just inescapable in that world. Law enforcement, kind of similar. And in fact, I don't even like the term law enforcement. I would say, peace officers, because that's what their original mandate is: keep the peace, not enforce laws.
Technically, that's what I am. Yeah.
Right. But, like the idea that you can enforce laws is just retarded on its face. But they love that little money. Oh, law enforcement. I'm law enforcement. Oh, what laws are you enforcing exactly? Oh, I'm driving around in my car. And how are you enforcing the law? Well, if someone breaks the law, I come and take a report and then build an investigation. Oh, so you're an investigator. No, I'm enforcing. No, you're investigating after the fact. If you were enforcing, that crime wouldn't have happened to begin with. So what are you talking about now? And
there is a burnout. There's a burnout path that gets into the hero thing, but I've seen it, and at times too, when I first transitioned from a past life career that was very technical with degrees and all this into law enforcement, I struggled to fit in a lot of ways. It was almost like when you talk about the lower level IQ thing, it was almost like, dude, you're thinking too hard about all this. Like I'd sit and I'd be looking and thinking and talking about, system things, and they'd be like, "We're here to dig a ditch."
Yeah.
So,
So
like
there's a
ditch
shovel. Start
digging,
digging.
we
Yeah.
don't need another engineer. We got engineers.
Right. And
We're
you're
here
not
to
one of
dig
them.
ditches. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Right.
I'll shut up and color.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Shut up and color.
Right.
And that said, the military, like you said, is so good at like when there's a and I mean playing out game theory, tactics, strategy, having a plan, making a mission, and once that's all articulated, you got guys that just fucking do it, and they just can hammer that out and get on the mission, get it done, and it can be brilliant. Like holy shit, the things that the American military has pulled off are amazing. And then when the mission is complete bullshit, it doesn't do so amazing.
Well, I
Anyway.
mean, like what that the perfect example is our current conflict in the Middle East, because as far as a kinetic planning thing, you go, yeah, outstanding, right? Like, yeah, you guys were excellent at the kinetic portion of that. The problem is there's still those bureaucratic hurdles in between, right? Because I guarantee you there were thousands of voices that were going, guys, we don't have enough missiles to do this. If this lasts longer than 2 or 3 months, we're fucked. And we're not only fucked here, we're fucked globally because we don't have any way to replace this shit. Yeah. But, reasons, and this is going to be great. And we're just going to, and they're, so all of a sudden they start relying on all these crazy assumptions. And then sure enough, 6 months later, all those voices in the military are going, try to tell you, we don't have enough stuff. Full stop. Like, you don't have enough missiles to sustain a long, winding campaign. And if Iran doesn't fold as quick as you think they are, you're going to be fucked. And sure as shit, like, what was it last week? Trump was out there saying, we're taking a little pause because we're out of bombs. Oops. It's like, well, how long is it going to take to build these bombs again? Oh, about 3 years. Oh, well, can't we just ramp it up right now? No, dickhead, because these are deeply complex fucking things. And you've been depleting them for years and years and years. And you've set up, your bureaucracy has set up this replenishment pipeline that takes years and years and years to ramp up again. So you've been planning for peacetime and you keep doing wartime. And those two are going to conflict at some point. And now, not only are they conflicting, you've accelerated the process irreversibly. So if someone decides right now, like, hey, like China wakes up and goes, hey, you know what? They don't really have any bombs left. Huh. Taiwan, hey, you're ours now. What's the military going to do? They go, oh,
Right.
shit. Well, what happens when we completely run out of these things because we have a large scale kinetic action that is against a peer or a near peer in the Pacific Ocean? Now what? You go, well, abandon all other security apparatus to go fight that. Okay, then what happens to the rest of our security apparatus? Oh, that collapses around it. Oh, so what do we do? Well, you probably shouldn't have done that thing you just did because that wasn't a good idea because there was no clear objective worth pursuing in this moment in time. So now what? So you see how this, like, as good as the military can be for like planning that kind of thing and as good as they can sort of game this out, they still have that same bureaucratic inertia that allows them to ignore things they don't like hearing and just do shit anyway and hope for the best.
The
You know what I
quagmire
mean?
we're in right now, and just the psychopathy of modern not war and whatever that is. I don't even want to start. It's insane right now. It's sort of like, what are we doing? We're negotiating, or the art of the deal, or the wait. No, we're gonna bomb you worse than World War II,
Except we don't have
and then
enough
we're
bombs.
not. It's
Yeah.
like what the, and this
What
we're
are you
talking
doing?
about Persia here. Like,
Right.
I know there's a lot of enemies that have each other's as enemies out there, and it's just a quagmire. But WTF? And then where's the money? And we're out of bombs, and it gets more insane with the day. Even like ignoring the noise over what's tweeted or whatever. But I don't even know what to say about that. But and then I just think, okay, well, as a Bitcoiner, printer gonna go burr, fiat gonna go bleh, right?
Probably.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, chances are good, So I don't know. I think the Bitcoin thesis survives most of this analysis, but
Well, let's see where the block height's at.
618.
618. We got a
When's activation?
couple more hours. That is at, where is it again? Oh yeah, 632. So we still got
14 blocks.
14 blocks, 16 blocks.
140 minutes.
Few more hours. Well, we're gonna stay live here, folks, so we know
stay
which
live
is,
to watch the nothing burger happen.
we're gonna stay live all day, and we're gonna watch the longest chain win, or not.
No, it will. I mean, like that's one of the weirdest things about that whole movement is like the amount of certitude that I see flung around. It's just like it's literally bewildering to me. I see some of the certitudes like this is going to happen. This is this. All these like these definitive statements of fact that I'm just like that doesn't line up with any reality I'm familiar with, and it confuses me. I'm just like maybe I'm missing something here. Like how am I not seeing what they're seeing? Like it's not even like, oh, I can kind of see how they might have a point here. It's just like there's just nothing in material reality that aligns with anything these people are saying in terms of like what the outcomes are going to be. So it's been a strange thing to watch unfold.
Yeah, the last signaling BIP 110 signaling block was 13 hours ago. That's going to be a slow road to hash. Let's see. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't know, man.
People renting hash have, like, what's the old Warren Buffett thing? The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Yeah.
In this case, I think the market can stay rational longer than these people can stay solvent. Like, I don't even know, like, I as hard as I've tried to think through this thing from the other side, I'm just like, I don't fucking get it, man. Like, it just doesn't, none of it makes sense. So I kind of go, all right, well, either I'm just a way bigger baboon than I think I am, or B, these people are just have completely lost touch with reality. I don't see any. I don't see any space in between for nuance here. It's just like you guys are making these very bold statements about outcomes, like the real Bitcoin and this chain is going to happen and miners are going to flip and there's no incentive to do this, and of course this is going to happen and the plebs have spoken and this and that. And I'm just like, what? Like how am I not seeing it? It's a little unsettling is what I can say.
Yeah, the hash can keep hashing longer than you can virtue signal. Although playing that out, let's say that a number of people who are Bitcoiners are committed and say, if FedCoin is going to FedCoin and we have forked and we mine any block at all, we have forked and we are staying on Dashcoin or B Dash. I don't know. It's going to be something else. You could say, well, it's Bitcoin as it was in 2000 something, 17, 18. Okay. Let's just play that out. So you stick with that one. Now, realistically, I think there's a number of people that are going to sit back and do nothing, and they're not going to lose their stack because as Bitcoin maxis, you can say you are, everyone is translating. I'm going to say 99.9% of even Bitcoiners are thinking in terms of the dollar value they got in there. I mean, got to say it. They're thinking of their value and, gee, could I pay off my house? Okay. So let's play that out. You fork off, you're committed to it. You keep following certain people that are telling you, yes, this is the past. We're going to rebuild Bitcoin. So you do that. How often are those blocks coming in? How much hash sticks to it? Really? Does a market ever develop? What just happened to your Bitcoin? Either you did nothing and then eventually, yeah, your Bitcoin's still on the main chain also. So you've got that.
Is that really?
Or you do something else with your Dashcoin, B Dash, and I don't know, economically, maybe there's a circular market somewhere in a conclave that you work with that in. However, I do believe you may have lost your stash in terms of admit it, be honest, where are you in terms of the dollar value?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing is like with no liquidity, no DEX, no centralized exchange, what you have, what do you have? Like you go, well, I've got this digital artifact. Oh, okay, what's it say? Well, it's a ledger entry. And well, it shows I control this ledger entry. Oh, okay. What does that mean in the real world? Nothing. It means I have some code. And does anybody want your code? No. Does anyone care that you have access to this unspent output? No. Oh, well, congratulations. Like that's the part I'm getting at is like if nobody wants to trade you for your thing, if you go, I have the most valuable thing in the world, it's just in my pocket right now, and everyone goes, I don't give a fuck. You go, no, no, but it's the most valuable thing. It's the real most valuable thing, not that fake most valuable thing. And they go, nobody else recognizes that, dude. So what are you talking about? But I swear it's honest. It's the most important, most valuable thing ever. And it's in my pocket right now. Do you want to buy it? No. How would I even know what it's worth? Well, because I said so. And all my friends said so too. Okay, that doesn't sound like a good investment for me. So no, like
Right.
I don't.
Can
don't think
can I
wanna
sell that for the other thing that I do know more about?
Yeah, like can I sell that for anything at all? If I just give you some money for this, will that be a tradable item tomorrow, or am I just giving you some money?
Right.
Well, right now you're just giving me money, but you're going to be part of our movement. Mm, no, I don't know. I mean, like, think about what it took to get that guy to sell pizza, right? To accept Bitcoin for a pizza. It was 10,000 of them. Just like, hey, I'll give you 10,000 of these probably worthless things if you'll give me 2 pizzas. And the guy was
I
like,
think that's kind of where it would go back to. It would be Bitcoin back on pizza day.
it's the next Bitcoin in a parallel universe. Yeah. For now, I mean,
That's funny.
you never know. Like, I mean,
I know.
theoretically, it's possible this chain could continue on and, they would start gradually building out liquidity and gradually building out exchange mechanisms for it. And it could be B dash junior coin or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then they could launch that fight about who really owns the ticker and what's real Bitcoin. And they could do all the same shit that, BSV and Bcash did and, probably lose that argument too. So then you got this minority fork coin that maybe attracts liquidity, but I mean that's the problem is I think a lot of this thinking is rooted in like 2017 logic. Like even the people go nodes are in control and this and that. It's like, well, if you actually go back and look at what happened with SegWit, that wasn't like pleb nodes were in control. That was like a whole lot of coordination and economic incentives and a lot of very nuanced discussion behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, publicly, privately, that resulted in that outcome. But that was also during a time when Bitcoin was meaningless to the rest of the world. Nobody gave a fuck. It was literally internet nerds arguing in internet nerd circles solely, completely. There was no like, yeah, they had, you could get trading pairs on Binance. You go, well, okay, that along with 10,000 other shit coins. So
Right.
what? So what are we talking about now though? This isn't 2017. This isn't like nodes are in control and nodes say what Bitcoin is. It's like, well, you got BlackRock here now. You've got Fidelity here now. You've got strategy. You've got legacy finance deeply embedded in your favorite little orange coin. And the thought that like 5,000 nerds with a fucking computer is going to alter the trajectory of what BlackRock thinks Bitcoin is. It's just like, really? You really
Yeah.
think that's going to happen somehow? Do you think Binance is going to like go, yeah, we side with the plebs. We're going to destroy any credibility we have in the market with every single regulator, every single fucking institution, every single holder, because we want to side with your ideological thing against fucking JPEGs on the chain. I mean, that's possible. Like, I'm not going to say that's an impossible outcome, but I think it's highly unlikely. I think it's highly unlikely that Coinbase is going to do the same thing. I think it's highly unlikely that Kraken will do that. I think it's highly unlikely that BlackRock will even consider something like that. I don't think Strategy will agree with that. I don't think Fidelity will agree with that. I don't think federal regulators will agree with that. I don't think anybody on planet Earth will agree with that, except for the 5,000 people that are just really pissed off about spam. So,
Yeah,
what are
Pete
you making?
Pete Rizzo was telling me about kind of how he looked at Bitcoin having had a first age of Bitcoin, which was cypherpunk, and that number went up with development at the base layer and building and improving the protocol and protecting that, and cores development, and then the things that branched off from that. And the overall gist of that was that great men make Bitcoin. And it was about these individuals and these leaders in the space that was the first age of Bitcoin, the cypherpunks, and then some of the core businesses that built what Bitcoin is.
Right.
And now we're just in this second age, which is not about great men and great ideas. It's entangled with a huge system, which is now big money. And that's just what it is. And not money, capital.
Right.
It's big, capital B, big Bitcoin, capital. And so love it or hate it, what Bitcoin, the longest chain is now, is big Bitcoin. It's big capital. And
Well,
it's
but it's not even, I mean, calling it big Bitcoin, I think is like kowtowing to that fucking narrative. Like, the
that
thing
is a
is,
trope.
well, like in 2020, people like go back, go look at any Twitter account, anybody that's pro or against or whatever, just go look at their accounts from 2020 if they were even there and see what they were tweeting.
The ETFs.
Institutions are coming, ETFs are coming. One of these days, BlackRock's going to want your Bitcoin and your number is going to go to $1 million in one night because BlackRock ETFs are here and blah, 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 blah. And they just were like literally circle jerking themselves into a tizzy about how much money they're going to make when the institutions show up. And so now the institutions are here and they're just circle jerking themselves into a tizzy about how it's big Bitcoin now. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, what did you think institutional adoption would look like? Like, they would just suddenly be orange pilled and come to this, like, hey, my entire business model that made BlackRock is fundamentally flawed because it's based on an extractive technology called money. And it's because of the abuses of the fiat system. We need to go return to a sound money standard that's never existed ever in the history of the world, even though Safadine said so in his book. But that's what we're going to do now. And Jekyll Island is our defining beacon of truth in the world. And that's how we're going to change BlackRock now because Bitcoin has shown us the light. It's like, did you honestly think that was the outcome that was coming? Like, seriously, back when you thought institutions were coming, that was going to be the outcome? All these banks would just suddenly realize everything they've been doing up until now is wrong and fundamentally against human action and praxeology, and we need to adopt the Austrian school of fucking thinking. Like, that's what you thought institutional adoption of Bitcoin would look like? I go, no, dude, like clearly that's not going to be the outcome. And clearly what the outcome is becoming right now is the institutions are very, very conservative about your little project called Bitcoin. They don't want to see anybody fucking tinkering with this shit. They go, hey, dude, we've got a lot of client funds wrapped up in what you said Bitcoin was. We'd kind of like Bitcoin to stay that way, please. We don't want you coming in with your ideological bullshit about spam and this, that, and the other thing. Like, when we bought this, we knew the spam was there. We agreed with it. You agreed with it. Everybody was kind of on board with it. And now you've decided that's an existential problem because we're here. No, I don't think so. So
Belief machines. Yeah.
weird.
I think of Sturgeon's law where like 80 or 90% of everything is bullshit. But
yeah.
Thinking of the cold card thing, when that all first started to blow up and it was like, oh shit, this is going on. And I never owned a cold card. I never used one. I never
I do.
I never thought about it. But you reached out to me and kind of checked like, hey, you guys got cold card? And
yeah,
I had a number of people reach out to me like, dude, you aware of this? And I don't know if BringFax is still on, but I was thinking through people I knew that might have a cold card, and I was like, shit, I mean, other than the people that are already online communicating about it, I don't know of anyone, and I didn't think of it.
right.
And BringFax was over at Lake Satoshi at that get together there. And later, BringFax posted about, so I was there when you bought that, BringFax, and I had forgotten that whole day was just an awesome, magical day. And then you posted something about it, and I realized, oh shit, yeah, Bring Facts had bought one, but I had reached out to various people, and I couldn't even remember, like, who do I know that has a cold card?
Why didn't you
And
warn me, Fritz?
I know. Well, you reached out. I was still like reading into what's going on here, and you DM'd me and said, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh shit!" I said, "I don't have one. I'm not. I think I went and I've been sort of OCD occasionally checking my stack now because I'm just like, what do we not know? But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm fine. But I was like, oh yeah, right. Who used a cold card? Well, bring facts. If I didn't reach out to you, I'm sorry, but I couldn't remember who all I knew that even had one. But that was quite a. I had people reach out to me that I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. But I mean, there were people that are. I mean, I almost think too. I get used to my bubble where I'm online and like, oh, everybody knows now. People literally aren't paying attention. Don't look at their setup. Don't think about it. And oh, lo and behold, by the time you find out, whoops, too late. But
Well, that's one of the most disturbing things about this, and like I think that actually saved a lot of people. Like, you know, one of the funnier things about stamping seeds and all that kind of stuff is there's a lot of like intention in doing that kind of stuff, and a lot of people that just kind of go, oh, "I'll do that tomorrow," you know, and then they wake up to some terrible news and they're like, "Oh, thank God I still got all my shit on Kraken because I would have been fucked if I had done all these XYZ things."
right.
Um, you know,
A
so
lot of
like
people that's got with it where they're like, thank God I'm such a procrastinator because I never actually,
I never
I
did
got a
any of this
cold
shit.
card like people do. You buy this new hardware wallet and it sits on your desk for a month or months. Oh, geez, thank God I didn't ever. It's
Yeah,
just like,
thank God I didn't do that. Wow, lucky me.
oh,
Yeah, but I
geez.
mean that was sort of the thing that I think revealed a lot about the space in general because what we effectively have here are like a not insignificant number of people that had such a critical vulnerability in their security model that one failure could collapse their entire security model, right? And I mean, it's not to victim shame or victim blame or anything like that, because obviously Cold Card fucked up, right? Like, you
Sure.
can't get around. Like,
Yeah.
this is a critical fucking vulnerability in a critical piece of hardware that you guys needed to critically evaluate, right? And it's not enough to vibe your way through that. But the fact that everyone else kind of vibed their way around it to be also, and then, but it still points to like user practices at the end of it, right? Like, I posed a hypothetical question to you last night, you know, just say, if you had hired somebody to secure your Bitcoin, and then they called you up on July 31st or August 1 and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I lost your entire stack because I relied on Cold Card's RNG."
Mm-hmm.
I think most people that had hired somebody specifically to do their security would rightfully be mad at the person that implemented that security model, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think if that guy that you hired as a contractor to secure your Bitcoin, if he came back and said, "Well, but everybody trusted it. Everybody said Cold Card was best, so I just used that." I think most people go, I don't give a shit what Cold Card did. Your job was not rely on anecdotal reports from influencers. Your job was secure my Bitcoin, and you failed at that.
Right.
And that seems like a pretty clear thing, right? The only reason I posed the question is because it takes away the person who is responsible for securing the Bitcoin. It takes them out of the equation. If it's a third party, you blame the third party. But I think a lot of people are struggling with, oh, I was the third party. I hired me to secure my Bitcoin, and I didn't do a very good job of that because I lost it, you know? And that's a sort of uncomfortable reality to kind of sit with and go like, oh, well, yes, I relied on a hardware company. And yes, I set up a security apparatus where one failure by that one vendor could cause me to lose all of my stack. That's a deeper, more complex problem. It's a harder one to reconcile in private than just go, well, it's Cold Card's fault, right? Like, that's an easy out, but you know, on some level, people have to look in the mirror and go, well, I set up a security apparatus where one failure by one vendor could cause my whole stack to be vulnerable. And so that's not really a security model. That was a very weak security apparatus dressed in assumptions, you know. So I don't know, man. Like, I still feel really bad for the people lost. I don't, you know, it's not like I don't want to go like, oh, it's your fault. You should have done XYZ or blah, blah, blah. Cause, you know, Monday morning quarterbacking is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And that is a very understandable, easy mistake to make. You go, well, of course they're using proper RNG, because that's such a commonplace thing. Like you can just go log into your Windows setup and then fucking use their pseudo random generator, and you're probably going to be fine for setting up your home network or whatever. So why would you ever assume that this dedicated specialized hardware manufacturer has fucked up the call to
Right.
invoke that, right? And it's really hard to tell just by looking at words. You see 24 words come out, you go, "Yep, it looks like fucking seed words to
Yeah,
me. It
that's
looks like
entropy, right? Yeah.
that's entropy," But it revealed some real shortfalls in the way people were approaching this asset. So I mean, it sucks that the wake up call involved a lot of people losing a lot of Bitcoin, but it also is doing a lot right now to strengthen the network and strengthen participation. We got these red teams now that are going out and looking for vulnerabilities and things that probably should have been occurring since 2017. They just haven't, because people have been sort of lulled into a sense of security. So I don't know, man.
What I'm really uh, loving to see is the way a lot of the Bitcoin community has rallied and formed like red teams that are going out. And I mean, that's how the BTC Pay server bug or whatever's going on with their macadamia nuts and stuff like that. Um, uh, they're finding more stuff now and going, oh shit. I mean, it's a healing process of the ecosystem and the zeitgeist of entropy around Bitcoin now. And it's like, okay, we were trusting and not verifying. So everybody uh, we know more now, and
Oh
our
yeah.
our standards are different now. If they weren't before, well, now everybody knows. And that said, it's easy to blame Cold Card and say, okay, well, so let's say Cold Card goes bankrupt, whatever. They're not going to make their users whole. They can't. Um,
I
people
don't
just
even think there would be
people.
standing for them.
How would you do that? And even the white hats that sweep and save that Bitcoin, how do they make wallets whole and verify that? I don't know. Maybe there's kind of a way, but people have simply gotten lost Bitcoin there. Now, you add to that, we know, you and I, and we know a lot of these Bitcoin consultants out there. They're providing services to, hey,
Well,
I'll
let's
show
not go
you.
down that road,
I
because
don't. I don't
that's
want
a
to.
whole
Yeah, I
different.
guess.
That's a really sticky, weird space, and I
No,
mean,
no. I guess we shouldn't even go there. But like, I can just see where people want to place blame and responsibility on whatever level they were Bitcoining, and who they got to help them, or what they trusted, whether it was Cold Card or a service or something else. I can see for a long time now where people are going to. I'm just curious where it plays out legally.
well, legally, I don't think anybody's going to be liable for this, because ultimately, like, Cold Card disclaimed a whole ton of shit in their terms, right? And and that's there are places where you can't waive liability, right? Like you can't just contract your way out of liability, and there are states that do that. There are jurisdictions that do that. They say, I don't care what terms and conditions you put in there, you are liable for XYZ failures on your part, right? But historically speaking, those cases tend to resolve around replacement of the device, not like replacement of losses, because if you start talking about replacement of losses, like you get in this really, really deep, murky place about where responsibility truly lies and who ultimately had the responsibility for that. And I think if you just broke it out in a legal context, it would be like, well, legally speaking, the person securing the bearer asset had responsibility for securing the bearer asset. Full stop. Like I don't think there's any plausible case you can make. It goes, well, I relied on this door lock that didn't work and my house got burglarized, so therefore you owe me for the house getting burglarized. Like, it's like, well, you probably should have done more than just rely on one lock. Like if you really had something worth protecting, you probably should have maybe taken some more steps, which isn't nice to hear if you're the person who relied on a shitty lock. But, on some level, it's like be your own bank means be your own bank. But that's a trope from 2015. Be your own bank, but there is no customer service, right? And if you take that as a trope, and if you just take it as a t-shirt slogan, then it's kind of easy to lull yourself into like, well, but nothing will ever happen to me. And then when it does, it's psychologically appealing and emotionally appealing to go, well, it wasn't my fault. But if you're legitimately taking responsibility for securing an asset, whether it's your family, your car, your Bitcoin, your cash, your gold, whatever it is, like you have to bear some responsibility for the outcomes, even when they're negative, you know. And the thing about securing your house or securing your car or securing your kids or securing your cash or your gold or whatever it is that you have a lot of bubble wrap around that, right? You have law enforcement, you have subpoena powers, you have courts, you have adjudication, you have all kinds of stuff where you can lean on it. And especially if you're relying on custodians, you have all kinds of legal wrappers there too. Like all those people from Celsius are getting money paid back to them, you know, probably not as much as they lost. The FTX or the Mount Gox people, it took fucking forever, but the Japanese government
Years.
actually had to concoct a whole new scheme to make people whole because the disclaimers that Mount Gox used were so strong that the Japanese government was like, oh, well, technically, you guys just don't get anything. Like, if we just apply this to our business law the way it's set right now, like, you guys are just fucked. And they recognized as an institutional arrangement, they went, that's not going to be great. This is a lot of money. There's a lot of people got affected. So we need to find a different way to deal with this to make sure that people get paid out. And so they did. But that process also took fucking 15 years or
Yeah.
12
And at
years
the
or whatever.
fiat price at which they had it then, which was not the Bitcoin value of what it was now or at the time.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So it's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, it was worth this much money then. Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh, great. That's like a quarter of my Bitcoin. So,
Right. Well, but the point is, you know, with the custodians, you've got bubble wrap, right? With self custody, there's no bubble wrap. And I don't think people took that seriously enough, if I'm honest, like myself included, right? You look at it and you go, well, I mean, I'm a paranoid fucking baboon. So I do all kinds of weird fucking shit to try and make sure my shit doesn't get separated. And chances are good, I got a lot of holes in my logic that I haven't realized yet. And I might get swept. And you go, well, but that's the risk I'm taking. And I do so knowingly. I just go, well, I am relying upon myself because I'm the only person. I'm my own customer service rep. I'm the one I got to call if all my Bitcoin gets swept. I go, well, I'm the guy. So I'll just, you know, take off this hat, put on my customer service hat and go, yeah, you fucked up. Uh-huh. I did. Yep. Sorry. Well, what's the recourse? I don't have any recourse because I'm broke now. So goodbye, me. Okay. See you later, me. You know, and that's going to be the end of the conversation. Right. But I understand why people are mad. I understand why people feel betrayed. I understand why people feel, you know, like they've been duped or whatever. And there's also that thing is like, well, but that's the thing you kind of signed up for. You know, it's like when you see a cop complaining about getting beat up during an arrest, it's like it's kind of what you signed up for, dude. Like if you signed up to just go around and eat fucking donuts and then write tickets and not face any threats, then okay, fine. But you knowingly signed up for a job where it's like, you know, half the population is armed and many of them are unstable. And your job is to go deal with them when they're fucking up. Like chances are good something's going to happen to you at some point in your career where you're going to have to get dirty. You're going to get fucking blood on you. You're going to deal with fucking seeing someone's head split open in a car accident. Like that's the gig you signed up for. So it's a little disingenuous to come back and go, but they told me during recruitment that I was going to be writing tickets and, you know, driving around in my fancy car and being an asshole all the time. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, you probably manage a level of PTSD that I manage in that career and decades of shit show. But I want to bring to stage here. You've written a lot of articles.
yeah.
The most recent one about clarity, but also it gets into the wrong box for Bitcoin, and it gets into Bitcoin being property, a, a bearer instrument. It's a bearer instrument without these other layers that we often presume with, you know, governmental, well, what, bubble wrap maybe, and it's a,
Yeah, exactly, John.
and that's the thing when you boil all this down, even with the Clarity Act. Okay, it's going to clarify things about how they manage Bitcoin and other stuff. Some of that, okay, good, makes sense. Ultimately, that's not what Bitcoin really is. And so when Bitcoin and these kinds of problems that have happened interface then with these calamities or conflicts, disagreements, lawsuits, it's new territory to me, but
Well,
it's
I think the line in there that I was most proud of was like there may be legal processes around who should or should not have access to whatever thing, but Bitcoin doesn't care. Like, so if you strip it down to that trope of Bitcoin, the code is law, you kind of go, well, in this case, it is. Like, do you have the power to spend those unspent outputs? Yeah. Then it's your Bitcoin, full stop, right? Someone might impose legal process on you that says you're not allowed to do that. But the thing that makes Bitcoin unique is you go, well, go fuck yourself. I disagree with you. And there's nothing anybody can do about it, save from torturing you or making you have to deal with that, right? Like you can dispose of your Bitcoin anytime you want, any way you want. You can send your Bitcoin to Iran tomorrow. No one can fucking stop you. You can send it to, Osama bin Laden's family. You can send it to, some Colombian drug trafficker. You can send it to the hooker down the street. You can do anything you want with your Bitcoin, right? So whatever legal apparatus surrounds that, it literally is powerless to touch the technological layer that makes Bitcoin such a unique property right and such a unique bearer asset. Like it's unprecedented in the history of the world. And I say that probably every single time we get on this podcast. But I'll keep screaming that to the end of my days, because that is the thing to me that makes it novel. That is the thing to me that makes it unique. That is the thing that makes it interesting. Like sound money, and we got to use it for payments and circular economies and all that kind of stuff. I go, well, that's cute, but like you just saw a major fucking security breach cause a lot of losses. And so now you go, well, but we need to be using this as payments. I go, well, can you do that on the base chain? No. Is there any technological improvement that's going to make it so you can do that on the base chain, where you can do global payments on the base chain, global daily transactions on the base chain? The answer is firmly, unquestionably no. So that means you need to rely on layer twos and third-party solutions and other software vendors and all sorts. So you need to, in order for you to get to your sound money, everybody's using it, circular economies, you are relying on trust instruments forever and ever and ever. And I go, that's not what makes Bitcoin interesting. The ability to have a base layer that requires a bunch of trusted intermediaries and trusted layer twos and trusted software and trusted. This whole chain of trust is the thing that's going to make it so we can use Bitcoin as money, quote unquote. But I go, what you can do on the base chain is retain a property right that no one can fucking take from you. And that's a big fucking deal. That is enormous. Is it seamless where you can go buy your coffee with it and you can save your sats and get paid in sats? And no, it doesn't, it's not great for that. It's not really set up for that on the base chain at all. It is potentially maybe doable with layer twos and intermediaries and software layers and all this extra shit on top, but it's not base chain Bitcoin that's going to make you do that. But base chain Bitcoin does give you something that has never been held by any ruler on planet Earth. No oligarch, no fucking pharaoh, no emperor, no king, no president has ever had a property right where you go fuck yourself. You can't have it. It's mine. Go ahead, poke my eyes out. I don't care. It's mine. You go, right. And you can move that anytime you want. You go, you know what? I want to fund this fucking revolution in Venezuela with my fucking Bitcoin. Go fuck yourself. I want to fund truckers in Canada. Go fuck yourself. And no one can fucking stop you. That's what makes it interesting. Not like, can I use it as payment and I pay my taxes in Bitcoin and everything's circular and the whole world is fair because Bitcoin is sound money. It's just like, yeah. Well, I mean, that is a view, and it's not like it's not rooted in pure fantasy. Like those are valid concepts, and commodity theories are valid concepts about how money works and stuff, but that's not the be all end all of what money is doing. So I don't know, man. I don't know why it would even be controversial, but it seems important to me, and maybe I'm just sort of a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. I've got the glasses that Bring Facts gave me in El Salvador. I'm putting them on right now. Let's just say you get legitimately, well, how should I say this? You lose your Bitcoin and there's people to blame for it. And it goes through all the processes, yada, yada, yada. Ultimately, there's no structure in place that can like make you whole or fix that or back it up. Trusted third parties that do the fraud prevention or the rollback for you. It is what it is. The Bitcoin moved. It's somewhere else. Yeah. End of story.
Right. Well, I mean, code is law, right? So
yeah, code is law.
That's the code you're relying on. So I mean, I think it should be a wake up call for anybody that's legitimately taking self custody. Is you got to understand why you're taking self custody and what benefits you're getting from that, because most of what people want from Bitcoin, best I can tell, is number go up, right? They just want an investment where they can retire their bloodline. Like that, I think is such a common trope that people almost take it for granted, but you don't necessarily need self custody to do that, right? Like I think many of those benefits will accrue if you're trusting someone else to take care of that for you. But if you really want the actual sovereign insulation from sovereign overreach, that requires self custody, but that also requires a lot deeper knowledge base. And I think people were led to believe and really appreciated until now. And even now, I kind of question because I see a lot of people go, oh, well, our solution is better because of this reason, or here you can use our app, or we can do this, or we've got all these reasons why we're so good and they sucked and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, do you really just want to shift trust from one institutional hardware manufacturer to another, or some new software vendor or some new thing? It's like, I don't know, dude. But I don't know, man. Like Bitcoin is bigger than I think people give it credit for, even people that are really into it. It's sort of my core thesis. But yeah, I think Fritz is a Burning Man refugee.
You know, this this era, this spicy drama we're having in Bitcoin just lately, it's sort of like the timing of all the things, you know, I was thinking of, I look like Hunter S. Thompson, where the quote being, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And we're seeing a lot of professional weirdos. Professional weird is going on around here. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe I'm weird going pro here, but there's a lot of weird.
Indeed. Well, shit, we've had quite a long journey today, man.
Let's see. We're at block height 622. So we still have, well, we got 10 blocks to go.
So a little less than 2 hours if they keep churning out at 10 minutes per block.
Yeah, we still got some time to watch this. So
you remember when Geraldo Rivera was gonna open up Al Capone's vault? Do you remember that?
Yeah, the lead up, the big build up. What are we gonna find? And it was like what? Some dirty underwear.
Here you go. Here's our Al Capone's vault.
Al Capone's vault is about to open, folks.
Yeah, this is amazing. It hasn't been seen before. We're gonna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not that I'm not going to pay attention. Also, I think it's going to be like, well, what I'm curious about is the social layer. The popcorn eating part of it is, what do some of these people say? Where do they go from here? What do they do? How do they frame it? I don't know. Yeah, when the going gets weird, the weird's going to turn pro.
We're in a little echo chamber, dude, with a bunch of professional weirdos.
So, well,
plain ad, dude.
We figured it out, folks. With that, take self-custody, but with entropy,
carefully.
Right? Entropy is the zeitgeist.
Fallbacks, layers. Your Swiss cheese model cannot be one slice of Swiss cheese.
I'm going to play.
You don't know what a Swiss cheese model is? Look it up.
Yeah, the Swiss cheese model. Okay,
hey, thanks as always for joining. Back. It was great to see you as well, man. Thanks for coming by.
Good to see y'all, man. I love y'all. Another great show. Get a MicroSeed if you've got entropy and you generated some keys and you've got a private key.
Back them up.
And
you can do your passphrase too if you buy a MicroSeed Advanced.
Our core values have not changed. You know, run a node, take self-custody. Nothing's changed on Bitcoin. Just who do you trust? Who do you verify? Do you trust yourself? Do it right.
Yeah.
All right. Here's this. MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. MicroSeed comes with stainless steel washers, a titanium washer, and even a nylon washer. Think of metal detectors or having to travel through security. You can even go down to the hardware store and buy your own washers by the bag or the box and crank out as many as you want. Go nuts. So get off paper and get yourself a MicroSeed at microseed.io.